Welcome to Mishna study Masechet Terumot, Perek Aleph, Mishna Vav. Over here in this Mishnah will parallel the first Mishnah of our Perek, of our Masechet, right? When we spoke about earlier, if you remember, the Hamisha lo yitiromu, b'im termu, and terumatan teruma. 5 people they cannot give, and if they can't separate teruma, and if they did so, it doesn't count at all. Over here, we're going to speak about Hamisha lo yitiromu. 5 people cannot separate teruma, b'im termu, terumatan teruma. But if they did so, but the avad, right? But the avad always means if they did so, right? Not outside, you're not allowed to do so. If they did so, they violated, they did. Terumatan teruma, it still counts. Who are these 5 people? Ha'ilem, v'ashikor, v'ha'arom, v'ha'someh, u'ba'al keri. Lo yitrom, b'im tarmu, terumatan teruma. Right? So the ilem, someone who's mute. He's not deaf mute, he's mute. Remember, deaf mute, it doesn't count at all. Even the avad. Someone who's mute, right? So he could hear, but he can't, he's just mute, he can't speak. That counts. That counts as teruma, right? If he went ahead and gave some. He's not allowed to give, but if he did, it counts. V'ashikor, someone who's drunk, he's not allowed to separate teruma. If he does so, it counts. V'ha'arom, someone who's naked, he's not allowed to go ahead and do so. If he does so, it counts. V'asomeh, a blind person, u'ba'al keri. Now, why these 5 people? So the ilem is someone who's mute. Someone who's mute, he can't speak. He can't speak. Something happened to his voice box, right? He can't go ahead and speak. And if he can't speak, he's unable to say a beracha. You have to say a beracha for teruma, for separating teruma. It's actually in Sidurim. Go to Israel, you know the actual beracha to say when you separate teruma, you could say. You have to say a beracha every time you separate teruma. Now, this person who's mute, he can't say a beracha, so he's not allowed to. Similarly, the shikor, the arom, someone who's naked, and a ba'al keri. Ba'al keri is someone who had an emission, right? From the time of Takanat Ezra, he's not allowed to say beracha. Also, someone who's naked, not allowed to say beracha when you're naked, right? So these other 2 people, it's physically impossible for them to say beracha, but the halacha forbids them to say beracha, right? So they're also not allowed to separate teruma. Now, if they did so, it still counts, right? Because even if you do the mitzvah without the beracha appropriately, it still counts. What about the shikor, with the person who is drunk and the blind person? How come they're not allowed to separate? So they're not allowed to separate because they can't choose the choicest of fruits to give to the kohen. And we know you're supposed to, because that's the law by the Teruma. It says, et halbo, right? The halbo, the fattiest of it, the best fruits, that's what you're supposed to give to the kohen. And a blind person and someone who is drunk, you can't go ahead and pick out the best produce. Right now, Rambam just points out, why does it say Hamisha, 5 people? I can count it. I see there's 5 people over here. Why does it say Hamisha? It comes to exclude Rabbi Yehuda. Remember, Rabbi Yehuda said also a katan is allowed to separate teruma, right? A katan who separated teruma, it counts, right? So technically it would be a 6th one over here, right? But this says 5. It's not according to Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda would have had a 6th one on this list. And Rambam also points out, why does it say lo yitromu? It's like 5 people shouldn't separate teruma, and if they did, it counts. The ilem, these 5 people, uba'al keri lo yitromu, they shouldn't separate. You told me already they shouldn't separate in the beginning of the Mishnah. The first time they told me they shouldn't separate. Why tell them again they shouldn't separate? And he says over here something very interesting. He says lehazek hadavar, to strengthen the point that none of these 5 people should go ahead and separate teruma l'chatchila in any way, shape, or form. It shouldn't cross their mind, because that what? Oh, if I did so, it counts. So you know what? I'm going to be mekil, and I'm going to do it l'chatchila also. Al ken hazar al kach sheze asur b'shum panim l'chatchila. It stresses, it's there to stress that it's asur to do in any way, shape, or form the l'chatchila. And that ends off our Mishnah. These are the 5 people that are not allowed to, in any way, shape, or form, separate teruma, right? But if they did so, it does count.